Good morning, everybody. Since we're all looking, not all, but must be aware of where markets may turn and what's happening, what we talk about every morning. Um, Thought we'd quickly talk about the concept of minor support, which is defined as the high that was overcome as prices are moving up and they pull back to that high, what was resistance to become support. And there's a bunch of stuff there to the left, and you can see that one there. Let me back up a second. It often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy with most things in technical analysis, which says that there are enough people looking at a technical concept with a similar belief that they will act on it. They will create the confirmation of their belief. And you can see as prices pull back over here, it seemed to stop on that pivot high. And which also raises the question, how far to the left do you look? It often comes up. Right? So, but what happened here was there was this little congestion where prices stopped on top of and rattled around. So now, as the Qs, all the futures here have rolled back over, and we look at things like a 20 MA, which most will look at, that can have an effect in all numbers. But then we look to the next one, right? The next pivot. And then if it keeps going down, the next pivot. Well, this is a subjective reference because sometimes, like now, there's nothing there, meaning what's directly to the left, and there's void because it skyrocketed straight up, and the support is actually down here. This little cluster of pivots down there, which is these overlapping bars. Now, still enough people looking at that. I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it. We should understand what it is and see if it actually takes hold. And things got, the pullback yesterday got close to that area. And there's other things here. Maybe somebody's got Fibonacci levels or a VWAP or who knows what, trend line. There's so many different things. And that's what makes us crazy when you start thinking about which line, which indicator, which so on and so forth. So pointing that out, and things are stabilized here in front of the 10 o'clock number, and we'll see what kind of gyrations get made. Now, when I look at the Qs, kind of reinforces what I'm telling you even more, meaning look at here to this pivot where it's stabilized. Hey, look, minor support. It gaps above there and it rattles around and it keeps going. And now it's breaking this down. And we look at this pivot and there's nothing there. So this chart better displays the idea of a minor support reference point being a subjective reference point because this gap fill, there's nothing there until it gets down into this gap fill. Doesn't mean it has to get there because in that jolt report, if it rips back up, we're going to have some crazy pattern to deal with. What do we do with this mess? Versus ideally, it comes down into this area where it begins to stabilize. Buyers step up for obvious reasons, what's right here, and then when we get into a rally up toward the highs, we'll see. Pointing that out. Now, when we look at the spiders, Alex's mess is great. Great for Dan and the credit spread traders. I mean, as far as doing something with it. But, so the spiders are holding up better. And, tech led the way up. So money's coming out of that. And, where they're at here again, there's something at 945. 945. I don't know how many. Global composite PMI final. So that might have some effect, but the big number is ISM at 10 o'clock and the JOLT report, and then ISM services equipment, and there's economic optimism index and ISM services business. So 10 o'clock is going to be a big thing. Keep it in mind. So what's happening right now, things, who knows, they're going to go up, down, nowhere. for the first half hour as everyone waits for those numbers to come out. But right now, you can see the cursor. Prices are at the bottom of this little trading range that you can see on the hourly time frame, and this congestion here. So there was this little breakout failure, and right now, nothing's happening. Nothing of significance is happening. So we look at SPX, we just look at the number, what the numbers are today, and there they are. But I wouldn't advise doing something because at 10 o'clock, this thing probably going to make some gyrations based on all of those numbers. But this is where there's premium, and at least the downside here is on support. The upside is here, but this is going to change pretty rapidly. So I don't see this as being something to do before 10 o'clock. Whereas, let's say the number comes out and S&Ps shoot up. Well, it depends on how they shoot up, but we'd be then looking for something. They go fast, something up above here, like 4620 or possibly down here. I'd love if it shot down here, if there was something below 4,500, which is a whole number, which would be great. So there you go. SPX, we'll see. And, if things should break down under these lows and then they close like that, we'll be looking for, the 20 MA to get tested. And, there's all these unfilled gaps down below to keep in mind, but nothing there right now. Transports, a little bit of strength there yesterday, not doing too much, got room to go up. So plenty of positive things where money rotating into beaten down sectors, which was part of our discussion a week or so ago that, like banks needed to bring up the rear. And obviously they have, and that influenced IWM. Retailing had to bring up the rear. And so money rotating into that, but many of these things move so fast. Everybody's, I guess, looking at similar things, similar thoughts, and pushing them right up into resistance where markets need a bit of a rest. Even XBI, shooting up there toward the 200 MA. And, with that moving up, banks moving up, that helped propel IWM, which skyrocketed. And now you can see it's stalled there. It's in the area of this pivot, but it's got room to move up. So this is now showing relative strength, and there's a decent probability that it can get to the top of the trading range. And again, the 10 o'clock number is going to have an effect. Interest rates are down a little bit here. And as you know, as we're going through this, interest rates be moving down as they are, the markets would be going up. And now here you got the 10-year approaching, well, got a little ways to go to 4%, but 4.2, and the markets are down a bit this morning. So the influence, the positive influence that there has been is changing a little bit as this comes down to support. Nothing, we need to just recognize that there's beginning to change. And if this does begin to make a turn here, that's going to be one of the negatives for the market, which we believe because that's the way it's been all year. So if interest rates start to move up, well, that'll put some pressure on the broader markets. And, the dollar, that's really not doing too much, but we'll see if, there was a deeper retracement here. So as this was moving down, the thought was, okay, it's coming down to the pivot and the 200. And now it's retraced up to this pivot, and it's forming a little trading range, as you can see on the hourly time frame. I'll wait to see what that does. SMH, well, that pulled back into the gap yesterday. That kind of ones led the way up, and tech and leading the way down a little bit, but still in an uptrend. We'll see if this begins to stabilize in that area. The Dow, two wide range bars. I mean, after a run like that, inevitably it has to stall and it's near resistance, but it's got this void below, but has not violated any support yet. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if the diamonds are active enough. Down a little bit. So gapping down. Inside bar yesterday, inside bar right now. Neutral as everybody waits for the numbers. Gold had that big giant reversal yesterday. That was, got too ahead of itself. That was pretty wild. And, silver, that reversed up and right back down again. And I was talking here about this looked like it could get going. Actually, when this lifted up here and gold wasn't moving, at that time I mentioned, it's like, what's going on here? Why all of a sudden is this beginning to move? And big move there. And Bitcoin, as you know, that's been on fire lately. Well, after doing nothing for the longest time, a lot of red bars ignored. It got ignited there, and it pulls back a little bit. Maybe it's going to hit 50,000 because it doesn't look like there's much to stop it. It's just so far away. I don't know if I can scroll that back. It just becomes a big mess. But you can see a little bit of resistance there, but it's so far away. It's really not a big deal. And there's really nothing much of interest because things aren't moving much, and everybody were waiting for this number. Euro pulling back into nothing here, and the same idea of looking at minor support. You'd be looking here for this to pull back, and if this would do that, well, the dollar would be going up and putting some pressure on the market. And look at the pound, which is super strong. Well, so this is what we call bullish price action because it's going sideways at all of this congestion, but nothing to do yet. Maybe if it got another green bar, that would signal that it's going higher. So we'll see. Well, crude oil. We didn't look at crude oil. Maybe it holds this pivot. I had this drawing here last week as to this is making a little sloppy head and shoulders bottom, and it flipped up and got slammed down at that pivot, and now looks like it's trying to regroup. So, we monitor these things every day. Doesn't mean there's something to do every day, but we got to keep an eye on this because if this starts to lift up and the 10-year begins to lift up from this area, it's going to put pressure on the markets. Now, that being said, into the Xmas holiday, the holidays here, whatever pullback this is, it may leave a congestion area up there, but buyers are going to show up down here. So let it pull back a little bit. However, that begins to happen, monitoring all of these different intermarket relationships. The internals, we know, are already telling us, be careful. Accidents are going to start to happen. But if these line up with those interest rates flipping up and so on, things could pull back in a bit of a sharper way. But hey, let that happen because the strength of this move, the deeper this pulls back, and I'd love to see it pull back deep because then it would have the ability to have a very decent rally back up again. And if this should pull back, one of the things, and we'll talk about this, probably into next week, is that does the Russell show relative strength? Because this isn't going to go up if those are moving down sharply. But the strength of this move supports a bias that eventually this will go higher. So that's it. We'll see how it unfolds and what happens at 10. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, I was just looking at the four horsemen here pre-market, and diamonds are the weakest pre-market. So then I look up at my Dow 30, see if there's any standouts of weakness. And there's really not. I mean, yesterday Microsoft was the big downer, at least at the low. Right now, pre-market, I mean, you got cream down a little over 2, Bow and Cat $1, and everything else under $1. So, just broader market. Hey, this is here, Greg. Here's a call spread now. That's 180 reversal, gapping under the 7-day base. Let's see if there's any juice up here at 262. Cream. Coin. It's a climactic sell setup. It's a beast, but that kind of looks like a short-term exhaustion gap. A PXD alarm went off. I think this was on Alex's list. So this is bearish consolidation after a closing breakdown. So I got that here in the middle chart. T2. Notice gapping down here. So that's a call spread candidate I'm watching. Greg just gave me this HYDR, one of these beat up little solar, wind, whatever the heck it is. But that I've been seeing beautiful bottoming patterns the last week or two. And there's one right there. You have bullish price action, number of attempts to go lower, flat 20 and 50, and there's our something bar last Friday, and now it's a decisive gap closing breakout. You had a climb on the weekly with a bear sandwich. So that's a quality bottoming pattern. Looks good. So I got that on my list. Let's go up here to earnings. We did one earnings trade, and I gave it to subscribers. We shorted what was it, the 40 puts? What was it? Let's see. What am I in here? GTLB. Premiums were so jacked. Yeah, we shorted the 42 puts way the heck down here under the 200 for 45 cents. So somebody's going to wait 5 minutes, and you can either put a stop under Friday's low, let it expire at full profit. My mode of operandi is to buy the highest put I can for a penny, and then I got myself a free put spread, and then I don't have to worry about it for 3 more full trading days in case. It's just insurance. The odds of that going to 42 after today's gap up to 60, I mean, I don't know. You do the math. I would say 1/10 of 1%. But what if they come out and say their CEO's been caught embezzling? So I just close it at a penny. Unless it was Friday. If it was Friday, then I let it expire at full profit. AZO up a little bit here, no pattern. These are all earnings. CRMT 5950. That's quite a whackage. This middle here is my weekly chart. Look at that. That is a nasty gap. But the gap's too big. CNN gapping down 35 right here, horizontal line. That could break a call spread maybe. Smuckers 115. So that's a gap depending on how it closes. It could be a breakout of a bottoming pattern. SIG gapping down a little bit, but no pattern. DAC T gapping down 918, bearish gap, but no pattern. Climb on the monthly, so that looks like that stock's run is over for a while. DBI getting whacked, man. Here's another one. I got to go to my weekly. That is a big, big, big gap. From here, I can't even see it on my chart. G triple I gapping up. It's bullish. That might be a buy on a pullback of. Now, but for earnings, Friday we were going to buy this. And I've also been seeing a lot of kind of bull flag consolidations after nice runs with a void. And this, that's not a quality one. It wasn't quality until Friday's close with this big void. But like I said, earnings messed it up. Lazy boy? No, sure didn't. All right, Neo, these EV stocks. There was an article in today's journal about it, just the devastation of this. And, with I think the test is going to be, well, that's not even a big gap. So I have no idea. So nothing to do there, but I would not get excited that that's forming a long-term bottom. KMI, no gap and extended, nothing to do. CBS had, I don't think it was formal earnings, but I think they came out and gave some guidance. So it's gapping over all of this resistance. So that's bullish gap. So that's a definite put spread watch. And there's our GitLib. I don't know what happened to Spear here, but wow, that's another nasty gap. PFG, here's a couple from Sam's list I wrote down. You got 3 bullish inside bars from here with a void. Markets are continuing to sell off here a little bit pre-market, which I like, because then I'm going to be in no hurry to get in anything. But if this were to show relative strength just by going sideways and then take out yesterday's high after 10 a.m., there's a long watch. Triple V, another one of these kind of bull flags. Like I was saying, big runs. CHRW, beautiful bottoming pattern. Kind of an inverse head and shoulder looking thing. The 20 and 50 flatten out. Look at this volume over here on this attempted breakdown. Tomorrow, MT Live, we're going to be talking about advanced candlesticks without fancy terms. And, like we're talking to little Johnny again. Look, little Johnny, this thing broke. It's in a downtrend and broke down. What did it do next? Well, I went up really big. Correct. What did it do on this bar? Well, the day's low. It looked like it was breaking down again. And look at all these buyers drove it right back up to the day's high. That's correct. The bottoming pattern. TDC, I got an alarm at 47.90. Thanks, Scott. Now, see, this is not what I call a bottoming pattern. This is what I call just a bounce in a nasty downtrend. And that's provided it took out yesterday's high. But now it's getting whacked on, I don't know, earnings or what, but that looks like all-time lows. That company's in trouble. Whatever is going on there. Coin we talked about. So TAN, bottoming pattern, flat 20. Big move off the low. Closing breakout on Friday. So this is a bottoming pattern that I want to keep an eye on. All right, we did those. Let's just go up here. I just got a miscellaneous list. Oh, China, FXI. China, Moody's downgraded their credit to negative, not even to neutral. That was quite a kick in the groin. I wonder what caused this gap this day, but that's a Bear Island reversal. And look at your moving averages. 2050, 200. Had I been watching that, this gap under this green bar right here, that was a good short. Look at weekly, monthly, we're in alignment. Look, monthly China don't look good. That sure looks like it wants to come to 22, which is another almost 10% lower. Well, that's excluding this gap. All right, T2, I mentioned call spread idea. TRUP I posted as a 1, 2, 3 gap reversal, but it has to get over this high, and with the gap down here, I seriously doubt it will, which is perfect. I don't want my longs to trigger in weak markets. Rivety, Alex, that was yours. You know, just bouncing a downtrend, can't bounce. Aflac, I got an alarm at 83. WMS, that's a nice 1, 2, 3. Oh, we shorted a put spread on this yesterday, but it looks like a directional too. Yeah, we shorted the 120 put spread yesterday. Let me set an alarm at 126, just as a possible directional long. Cuervo Gold, I think Sam's list. You know, big old bottoming pattern. You know, ideally, it'll just chop around a little bit more here. Oh, good morning, Sam. Alex said you were sleeping. Here's a big inverse head and shoulder. Sam's list, Navi. CHRW, we talked about already. Bottoming pattern. Texan, I didn't give it to you. Texan over yesterday's high. Put spread for next week. See, this is one of these little bull rectangles. I told you I've been seeing a lot of big moves, and then the consolidation can obviously happen in many different ways. You know, a rectangle, a flag, you know, bullish price action, whatever. Triple V, here's another one. Call it, oh, I already talked about it. I call it a flag, rectangle, whatever. Call it whatever you want. Disney's on my short watch list here. Failed buy setup with a void, and there she blows. I hate, you know, I'm not going to chase, but this is a definite day to swing. You know, not a big target for a swing, but keep an eye on that. Well, that's T2 bottom right is rallying. Oh, Flex I posted as a short. Flex, so let's do 5-minute low now, because it gapped under the entry. This is what I posted pre-market. A 180 breakdown. What's a 180? Well, it's big green bar that's fully negated the next day. So T2 I'm not going to mess with. Let's put Flex there. U uniform we're already in, but that's a beautiful 1, 2, 3 also. PayPal, I have an alarm at 60. Another type of big inverse head and shoulder breakout with a void. So this is all just my watch list. All right, MGM was on my watch list, but now I'm deleting because of the deep retracement. Jable, big bearish gap, unable to bounce, 3 inside bars. Look at this gap. That's a 5 minute low short. That's a beautiful day trade short right here, you all. Give it 5 minutes. Short it. Stop over 117. This 15-minute pivot. That looks great. Table, I'm gonna put that in another window. All right, this GitLab. Let me see where I can get us out. Oh man, this is one of these where they don't offer penny spreads. So you just got to put an offer. I'm sorry, a bid at whatever strike if you want out. I hate that, man. 5 cent spreads. I don't want to pay you a nickel. I want to pay you a penny. It's all you're worth. Sam, do you hear that a lot? You say, you know, you're worth a nickel, and the girl says, no, you're worth a penny. Not very nice. All right, this looks great. Just give it 5 minute low. I don't like trading the first 5 minutes, particularly with IWM's the weakest today. The other three are bouncing at least on the 5 minute chart. So flex and that are two shorts. All right, dash. I have a low alarm, but it's just an early alarm. Let's see. Remember we talked about accidents? This could very well possibly be a breakout failure, depending on how deep this retraces. Let's see. We have a put spread in this. Oh no, we made our target yesterday. My bad. So I think we're at a dash. Let me verify it. A dash. Yeah, we met our target yesterday. Okay, we're at a dash. But I love it as a core at the right time because the monthly looks great. All right, so no foul there. Run. We're in trail mode. Let's move stop 5 minute low. How about 1388 on Mr. Run? As I capped under the stop, but we still have a nice gain. The yields are down. A D line obviously get down negative 1,000. Ticks actually flat. Maybe setting alarms, Greg, on your Hydra, up and down. PXD. Still going through alerts here. All right, this looks good. I'm gonna post this. Let's post W whiskey low alarm. We have a put spread on that. All right, let's short this. Let's do all the lows here. 228.74. Cable. All right, cable. Q's. We got weird divergences in the four horsemen. Apple is ripping. What is up? Even pre-market, I missed that strength. Apple and Tesla are in a race here on the 15-minute chart. So that's what's helping the NASDAQ. And I wouldn't call them ripping, but Google, Meta, Amazon, Nvidia are saying, hey, don't forget about me. So they're, perking a little bit. W whiskey. Let's see, what do we got? We shorted 55.51 puts spread.